people up to think about like what's happening. And I think it means like Proverbs 24:11 says, rescue those who are being taken away to death, hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. So I think that means like when we can, we go to the killing facilities where they murder kids, and we talk to the people walking in and say, hey, you're about to murder your child, please turn away from that. We will help you, we will assist you if you need help. Most Christians aren't doing that. What if there were tons of Christians outside these places of death all the time, and everybody saw that and they understood that Christians understand that this is a big deal, and they would start to understand it's a big deal. I think it means like we have drop cards and stuff. You can go to like a mall parking lot and drop like thousands of pieces of literature on people's cars and educate them that way. You can
organization or your name.
It's a movement. You can check out the movement on that website, and like
Abolish Human Abortion. So y'all are affiliated with the abolishhumanabortion.com?
Yeah. And we're abolitionists.
So or you take their message and kind of go out and kind of proclaim it, preach it.
Well, we take the message of the Bible. If abolitionism is just basically living consistently in the midst of rampant evils, trying to abolish injustice in obedience to God, in obedience to his command to love your neighbor as yourself. The book of James says, pure and undefiled religion before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So these are orphans who have been abandoned to death by their parents. They need to be visited in their affliction at these killing facilities. They need to be cared for in their affliction by people being a voice for them, because they don't have a voice. They don't have any defense. We have to be to the defense. They're not visible. We got to go out and make them visible, So that's how you love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah, Most Christians aren't doing that. There's other ways, you can create a video, an awesome artistic video, and then mass distribute it online to wake people up to what's going on. If that video has like content that actually wakes people up to what's going on, like you can reach a ton of people through online activity, through like websites, through YouTube. Sure. Like that should be happening as well,
When you go to some of the abortion clinics and various places like that, what's the feedback you get from people typically?
A lot of people ignore us. They're intent on murdering their kids. Some people get kind of hostile. Some people turn away. Like it's rare, but sometimes it does happen, and it's worth it. Like you show up to a place with these victim images, and it convicts people. Like people actually turn away, and the reason that they turned away, or a huge factor, is that they saw an image like that. That's why these images are so important, because they literally save kids' lives.
Yeah, I think that's valid, and I think those images are important in that sense. But again, I think where we disagree is I don't, again, my 8-year-old or a lot of people that have 2, 3, 4-year-olds, I don't want them to see these images at this time in their life.
Okay, but I think you should think about what's more important. Well, destroying a culture of death by exposing evil and saving kids' lives, or
I think you can do
your own
both.
kid.
I would agree with what you just said. That's very important, destroying that. But again, I'm responsible for my family. That's my first responsibility is for my kids, and so protecting them and training them up the way they should be. So
okay, yeah, and if you love them, you're going to educate them about this, right? Absolutely. You're going to show them the brutality of the seriousness of what sin does.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm not taking my 8-year-old to the Holocaust Museum anytime soon. We lived in Ethiopia, and there was the Red Terror Museum was there when Ethiopia went through communism.
Okay.
And I'm not taking he was 5 at the time. I'm not taking him to that.
You can use the images without your son being there if you want to. I mean, sure, you can go to the abortion facility without your son and use those images.
Sure, but my thing is people pulling up this morning. I mean,
people need to wake up though, and it needs to be publicly exposed, and kids are going to be anywhere you go and publicly expose this. So it's going to happen. I can't stop it. We have to publicly expose this so that people wake up, and kids are going to see it. It's just what's going to happen.
Would you be willing to, if I prayed right now for what you're saying and for this church, can I pray for you right now?
Yeah, you can pray.
What's your full name?
My name is Matthew Wiersema.
Matthew? Kurt.
Kurt.
Yes. All right, I'm going to pray right now.
Okay.
Dear Lord, I pray for Matthew Wiersema and his passionate fellow, what he believes is soldiers in this fight against abortion. God, I believe I'm on his side, though my tactics may be different. God, if my heart is wrong, I pray that you would change my heart. If Midway Baptist Church is not passionate enough for this, I pray that you would change the heart of our church. And I pray, God, for Matthew and his friends here, that if, God, their tactics are not what you are pleased with, I pray that you would change their heart. God, I pray that we would all eventually join the same team in this fight against abortion, because I agree with them, Lord, that you are not happy with this nation and our decision to kill so many innocent children. I actually am with them on that, Lord. I pray that as a nation that we would see the light, Lord, that we would open up our eyes to see, God, how so many innocent lives are dying. And Lord, as a church, again, I pray for our church. God, may we see the truth and may we be more passionate about it. And maybe our inactivity and our inaction has an appearance of not being proactive enough. And God, I pray that you would change all our hearts so that at the end of the day you are pleased with us and what we say and what we do, God. And again, I pray for success in his coalition to spread this message. And again, I pray that you would fill him with your spirit and have him be filled with the spirit of love and peace, but also passion for what he believes. And God, I pray all these things in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen. So, all right.
Again, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of churches. There are a lot of churches that are doing a lot against abortion. I mean, obviously,
It's pathetic, though. It's actually really pathetic in the face of a massive Holocaust in which thousands are murdered every day. It's grossly inadequate.
well, again, I understand what you're saying, that it's grossly inadequate, but there are a lot of churches that are doing a lot against abortion, and there are a lot of churches around the world that are doing a lot against abortion.
I don't see it.
So,
And they might be doing what they think is a lot, but we need to be doing what is necessary to end it. We can't cope with mass murder. We can't tolerate it. We need to
here's the question,
end it.
I'm asking you this, though. So then where does that stop?
Where does it stop?
Physically stop people from getting an abortion? I don't agree with them getting an abortion, but we should preach against abortion. But would you say that someone attacking an abortion clinic is right to do that? Are they justified to do that?
I think they are justified in doing that, but I think right now that wouldn't be the wisest course of action. We're trying to criminalize abortion, you know, so
Sure.
We're trying to abolish it both in law so that people who kill their preborn children are put to death as murderers, and we're also trying to abolish it culturally. So, because you can make something illegal and people will still continue to do
sure.
it.
That's right.
So that means we need to change the culture as well, right?
I don't disagree
So
with
we're
that.
trying to change the culture that makes this acceptable. And when we do that, the law will change and people's hearts will change. But we need to be salt and light in the culture.
Again, people's hearts aren't going to change unless the Lord intervenes and changes their hearts.
Well, yes, but that happens through the gospel going
Sure,
out
absolutely.
through the people of God, spreading the kingdom of God, you know?
Now, I'm going to disagree with you on the. I don't think there's going to be any time, any place that someone should attack an abortion clinic. I don't
Why?
think that's ever biblically right.
So
I don't think
so if you
Christ is supposed to do that.
So if you were in a classroom full of school children and suddenly a school shooter walks in and starts shooting up the classroom, and the police officer is there with his gun, but he just stands by and watches, and you have a gun, you're just going to stand there and let everybody get slaughtered?
No,
That's not a loving response, right? I don't think you do that. So you need to be consistent, okay?
No, I am being consistent. But what you're implying is that you're taking something and you're putting that in your hands, putting the law in your hands.
No, you're actually just taking action to rescue people from being murdered.
Again,
So you're saying you wouldn't take out that shooter?
I would take out the shooter, absolutely.
Okay, then why would you do that for born children, but you wouldn't do it for preborn children?
Again, I think you're comparing two different things.
Well, they're not. They're not two different things. They're both massacres, right? They're both children being murdered, right?
But I don't think necessarily going to an abortion clinic and attacking an abortion clinic is what Christ would want us to do. I don't think.
So then why would you shoot the guy who's shooting up a classroom? Why do you think Christ would want you to do that?
Well, because if I'm protecting somebody, then that's what I'm doing.
Okay, then why don't you protect the children who are being murdered at abortion clinics?
Again, I agree with you to protect those children, but I don't think going to that abortion clinic and attacking that abortion clinic is the right answer.
So if ISIS set up a facility in this area and they started kidnapping and murdering children, you think it would be wrong to attack that ISIS facility and take out the terrorists? Because that's what they're doing. These are terrorists against against preborn children.
I understand, but I'm going to disagree.
So you have a double standard. Do you see how you're discriminating? You're treating them differently. You need to explain why you can treat them differently under God's law. Why are you treating them differently?
If I'm somewhere and I have the opportunity to protect them by taking out a shooter or something, by God's grace, I'm going to do everything I can to stop that. But me going somewhere, again, it's wrong, and I have no problem with people coming and saying, look, this is wrong, save your child. But I don't think me taking the law into my hands, I think me taking the law into my hands by attacking an abortion clinic is much different than somebody coming to me and trying to attack someone and I take them out.
Well, so if you knew that there was a school shooting that was going to happen somewhere, you wouldn't go there to try to defend the kids from being murdered by taking out the shooter?
Again, I would.
Okay, then that's what's happening at the murder mill. You know that at the murder facility, the abortion facility, there's a guy who's going to murder some children in there. That means you need to go there to protect the children, right? So when he's murdering the children, you should take him out, right?
No, I don't agree with
so now you have a double standard. You're treating them different. You do. You're treating them differently. You need.
Matt,
why? You need to explain yourself.
I am
You're
explaining
not.
myself. Don't put words into my mouth. I don't disagree that abortion is wrong, but as I said before, I think it's different when someone is coming and I'm here and someone's trying to attack my family. I am called to protect them.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I just gave the situation of you knowing where it's going to happen.
And attacking abortion clinic, I don't believe is correct. I just don't believe it's correct.
But you would believe that if it was born children. That's what you've said, basically.
Again.
So you're discriminating.
No. Again.
Yes, you are.
No.
You haven't.
I'm not discriminating.
Yes, you are.
I think we're disagreeing on this.
Explain yourself then.
I've explained myself.
No, you haven't. You've stated facts about what you would do, and those don't line up with each other. One is different than the other.
I do.
One is different for preborn children than it is for born children. Therefore, you are discriminating based on age.
Again, I'm not. And honestly, the things that God have done in my life, I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about it.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I'm not advocating for right now. I'm not saying let's go shoot up some clinics.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't believe that's going to really do much at this point. I believe a better tactic is to change the culture through the gospel and like changing people's hearts and minds by educating them about the sanctity of life, the image of God, and the gospel. So that's what I do, you know. I use the ideology of abolitionism, the same ideology used by those who fought slavery in the 1800s. So I'd encourage you to do that.
Sure, I understand.
And check out that website and treat preborn children the same way you treat born children.
Well, I appreciate your message and your passion. I would just encourage you to reevaluate swept into church, man. I'm gonna pray for you. Would you also pray for us to be more?
Yeah, I'll pray for you. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a mutual thing because clearly I believe we believe the same thing, but our tactics are different. And if we need to change, I want God to change my heart. But likewise, if maybe you should change your heart a little bit, I want God to convict you of that too. And I'm not saying I'm right or you're right. I want 100 years from now for this country not to be aborting any babies. My goal, I would like to see this country abolished at 100%. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I hope to God it will. But we're not a Christian nation. We're not. We're a secular nation. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And
well, we can change that.
We can.
Yeah, and it takes urgent action.
And it takes the power of the Spirit moving people's lives.
Right, but people need to obey God. You know, they need to do what their neighbor needs from them, not what they feel comfortable doing. Yeah. People like to say, yeah, I fight abortion or I'm pro-life, but they're just operating inside their comfort zone. They're not doing what actually needs to be done. We need to think about, what does my neighbor actually need from me? Does my neighbor really need me to donate a bunch of money to a crisis pregnancy center? Sure, they do, but they also need a lot more than that. We need to think about, what would I want everybody to do if I was scheduled to be torn into pieces at a killing facility tomorrow morning? What would I want people to do for me? Would I want them to stay home and not go to the place where I'm being murdered? No, I'd want them to come to where I'm being murdered to stop it, you know? I'd want them to cry out for justice in the streets so that my mom's mind is changed and I don't get murdered. So that's what we need to do. We need to use every weapon in our arsenal, because that's how urgent the situation is. That's how evil this is. The church is not using every weapon in their arsenal.
Well, it's not, and again, it's not, I don't know if we're going to agree on everything, but on the tactics, but I appreciate your passion.
That's the problem, man. That's the problem.
So, well,
you need to take certain actions. It's very necessary, because the peace with mass murder just continues day after day after day. We need to shake things up. It's obvious that the current tactics of churches haven't worked, right? Because there's thousands of kids murdered in this state every year, and everybody's okay with it. That means the church has not been doing its job.
Again, I don't think everybody's okay with that. So you just said everybody's
Well,
okay.
no, they are okay with it, because they don't even talk about it. You know, they'll say I'm pro-life, but only when somebody asks them. Only when it like comes up in a conversation. They don't go out and say, hey, please stop murdering your children. Let's stop murdering children, everybody. I don't see that happening. I really don't see it, and it needs to happen.
Yeah, it does happen, and I think there are a lot of people that are pro-life that are doing more than just saying I'm pro-life when someone says something to me. So I think
sure, there are some people, but it certainly seems like the majority of people.
Sure.
They're not doing much, and what they are doing is grossly inadequate. It's not an appropriate response to rampant mass murder. We need to try to end it. I don't see people with a passion to end it, you know?
Sure.
That should be our desire, but instead it's kind of like we have to check off our token ministry for this thing so nobody accuses us of being discriminatory, you know, like this is just what we're obligated to do, so we got to put that ministry in and then we're good. No, like, where is the passion, the same passion we would have for born people? You know, we need to have that for these children, and it's not happening.
Sure. Are you from Raleigh?
No, I'm from the Chicago area.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm from Central Illinois.
Oh, nice.
Decatur.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents farm in Decatur, Illinois. So.
Oh, cool.
Cool. So, I mean, do you live here now, or you live in Chicago?
No, I'm just on a trip out here.
Okay. Cool. I like Chicago. So I would assume you guys do a lot there in Chicago?
Yeah, I do a lot of activism in the Chicago area, more the western suburbs.